we have two requested excused absences, Samantha and Barrett. They're both out of town, so I'd like to, anybody want to make a motion to excuse them? Nicola, Josh, second. Okay, all in favor? Thank you all. Marinelle will be in the room here in a second. She's just finishing up some work-related items. So, we have the minutes for approval that have been distributed by Scott, and we have we did not, these are the June meeting notes. We did not meet in July. Does anybody have any discussion on those? I'd like to make a motion. Motion for approval. Second. Okay, somebody come on. Okay, Luann makes the second. Okay, any discussion about the meeting minutes as well? Okay, all in favor? Okay, meeting minutes have been approved. Okay, on to the public comment. This is an in-person meeting. Comments will be made by attendees upon registering for the in-person meeting, indicating you would like to speak. I believe we have one speaker, and you're here. Yeah. And we'll have approximately 3 minutes.
Well, I am now trying to get us all to understand how to change policy and planning in our attitudes when it comes to water-based systems. These creeks and stormwater creeks, those are the utilities that feed and serve connected communities. And yet where man-made storm drains daylight into creeks, it is on private majority of the same, correct me if I'm wrong. And we don't really have any way that we are addressing stabilizing these in an ongoing method, despite it taking runoff from collected communities and forcing it into one concentrated area. With this in mind, I had really fun stuff yesterday at the Partners for Environmental Justice meeting in terms of feasibility studies. And this is a wonderful thing, because that is going to describe segments of creeks and their behaviors and how catastrophic things can get. Where we are now is that our systems are deteriorating and they are suffering from a situation that is just compounding with development. We're not going to stop development, but we need to ask development to also help us sustain. We don't have properties, or we don't have ways to mitigate property runoff into creeks. And it's demonstrated on my neighborhood street, where there is a 1 mile long segment, and in the middle where the creek is the weakest in terms of stream bank stability, we have erected 2 big condominiums with a cement driveway funneling more runoff directly into the creek, and we're about to replicate the same thing 2 doors down. So all of that runoff, all of that added concentrated runoff cannot be captured in rain barrels based off of HOA. We have new development that does not want to support or does not understand how to support stormwater infrastructure. And these are situations that are compounding deteriorating creek systems now. And we're not doing anything to ask, how do we help this? How do we mitigate this? So with these feasibility studies, I want this to be something in everyone's mind moving forward. When we are trying to change the way that we plan our cities, the way that we are trying to engage how these waterways, natural systems have to coincide with man-made engineering. If we don't have the money to make the man-made engineering sustain itself, then what do? We have to support the natural systems. But if we don't invest in the natural systems, we are letting everything deteriorate. So let's try to change that. In all of my ramblings, it's a matter of education. We are changing the city's perception and understanding of our creeks. They have been neglected for a very long time. We used to pump out sewer water into them. Learned our mistake. We're still learning mistakes. We just have to keep going. And I want to encourage everybody to just hang in there, and thank you for letting me ramble.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So Samantha is our planning commission liaison, but Ben is the staff representative for that, so there's a cases to review.
Need a bigger monitor. I hate when I see a typo. First thing. New, supposed to be capitalized and new approach, sorry. Apologize for that. Just a few cases this time because we're on summer break, much like the SMAC, the planning commission and the city council will go on summer break as well. So coming up at planning commission, this Tuesday is, a case that's on South New Hope Road. And it's, right on, Walnut Creek, so that's why it's of interest to us. There was a couple, an older legacy case from city council, Z 4324, which you guys have not heard an update since your June meeting on which updates you're on. And then the Z 7022, they've been working on it for a while, case on Wood Avenue is gearing up as well, and also the stormwater detection, which is moving forward to public hearing in September, so. We're into that. So the first one is New Hope Road, 1811 in the southeast section of town. Essentially, and I did these back to back because it was tough to see with the rezoning layer and the floodplain layer, so I kind of separated them. So essentially, the parcel is this whole parcel, all the way down and going up and highlighted in red, just highlighted in red on this one here, the floodplain. So current zoning is R6 and R10 with conservation management in this area here. So pretty much the entirety of the floodplain area for Walnut Creek, which the difference is probably where the floodplain area has been remapped since conservation management. So conservation management is a area that is supposed to be conserved. So it's zoned that way, so you can't really develop it or anything like that. So they are not, the applicants are not touching any of the conservation management that's out here. FYI. They're rezoning the parts that are zoned R10 and R6 on the northern side of the parcel, outside of the Walnut Creek floodplain area. So we actually talked at length with planning and the planning commission liaison SMAC about this one, and Commissioner Croft, if she were here, I hope she doesn't go like you see the saying here, but we're pretty happy the fact that there are no stormwater conditions, but keeping that conservation management area intact on the entirety of the floodplain for Walnut Creek is a pretty good protection. So, but obviously this is just going to planning commission. It's coming up Tuesday on August 12th, so there's plenty of time for other conditions if they were to come up or anything like that. But after looking at it, it seemed like a pretty good protection. I'm willing to open that up to the planning commission for any sort of discussion about this one. But it is fairly young. We have a little time to react to it. Any questions on this? Yep.
Yeah, if you could tell me that, the restrictions on that area, I mean.
Basically, you basically can't put any structures or anything like that. You can do greenway crossings and things like that. Underground utility crossings and things like that. You can't put like buildings or anything like that on conservation management. So we see it a lot around creeks and things like that.
Right.
In floodplain areas that are steep and things like that, that people aren't able to develop it. And I believe there's a tax credit for it, but I could be wrong about that for the landowner. If part of their area is conservation management, then they get a break on the taxes.
So since that area, that type of area was declared, do people sometimes ask to develop in that area? That's what I'm not saying.
They would have to ask to get this rezoning taken off this area to develop. So essentially, like if they were coming in for like rezoning and they were doing this whole parcel in X4 conditional use, then yeah, that would be an issue there because this is a zoning put on by the city of Raleigh. It's not a district, so it is another zoning district. So if they were asking to take that away, then I think there would be concern about stormwater development in that area. But since they're keeping it in place from the existing zoning area, seemed like a pretty good idea.
Okay.
In the Walnut Creek floodplain. Correct, yeah, this is the one, yeah, this is Walnut Creek proper, and this is their floodplain. That's what I was trying to show, two different boundaries.
What's the, looks like there's neighborhoods to the west and east there. Is it just kind of an empty lot right now? I know it's
Yes.
down, ours gets in. Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a. But yeah, it's, yeah,
Remind me of the pink. What was the pink
oh,
name?
sorry, the pink is the floodway fringe, the white area is the floodway. Since there's no real development on this area, they would be just restricted from developing in pink as well, because it's not developed currently. Or anything, so even though the conservation management boundary is a little bit off from what the current floodplain line is, they would still not be able to develop a floodplain area that's outside the conservation boundary, right?
I guess that was the point I was getting at. Is that
Yeah,
They wouldn't be able to develop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With restriction and parcel.
correct. But yeah, as you can see, floodway here for, Walnut is very aquatic, the floodway and floodway cruise. And it's, a little bit more to give you an idea, it's just outside the belt line here, kind of where and fairly undeveloped area of New York Road, the southern side. Any more questions?
I actually have one, and I should know this, but so they're not subdividing the property, so they can still use that entire parcel in terms of the nutrient load calculations of the 3.6 pounds per acre per year, right?
Yeah.
Still applies to the whole parcel.
Okay, that's correct. But if they get above 24% impervious, they would have to do at least one primary stormwater control measure, which is like a wet pond, fire retention area, and wetland, one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, thanks.
And, the NX4 zoning that they're going to is, just indicative of some sort of apartments. Like a 4-story apartment. So this next one is Z4324, off of Athens Drive in Northwest Raleigh. This was actually heard at the July 1st city council, withdrawn from the July 1st city council meeting, I'll say, so it wasn't heard. So the applicant has chosen to withdraw this case. And this was that one that was in, off of Athens Drive that, was gonna be, proposed use of a community garden or something like that.
Yeah.
But there were certain things they were hitting with the rezoning process that I think was gonna put a lot of hurdles in their way, but I can't really speak to it because I haven't talked to the applicant about this, but it did get withdrawn and was not heard at the July 1st city council meeting public hearing. So just want to give you an update on that, so you know where it stands, since we were updated in June about this. And if you recall, some of the neighbor concerns is the zoning they needed for the community garden was gonna make it one of the most, or like the most intense zoning on this side of Athens Drive. So a lot of the neighbors were a little nervous that the community garden sounds nice, but what happens if somebody else first on the property decides to do an apartment building or something like that, not a community garden. That's sort of where some of the issues are going, and the owners definitely don't want to do that now. They've been planning on this for a while, so I suspect they're gonna come at this a different way, but I don't have any knowledge. And then the last rezoning case was a Z7022, which is off of Glenwood Avenue, at the Lake Ann subdivision. If you guys know anything about this area, Glenwood Avenue, it's kind of up diagonal south from the Carmax and Long Lake area in Glenwood Avenue. So this is actually a case that they've been working on for 3 years, like it shows up there, it's got 2022 data on it. But they're looking to take this area, which is kind of the entrance to the Lake Ann subdivision here. And this Lake Ann subdivision is technically the county. So it's not not in the city, but it's in the ETJ, I believe. And, so they're taking all these highlighted properties and they're looking to change those zonings to more like a commercial use and, apartments and some conservation. They do have some more conditions because the Lake Ann community is very sensitive to any upstream development, they really like their lake, just they very well should, because they own it, and it's a great lake. So they've been in touch with the developer for quite some time, that's on the stormwater commissions. They're gonna use, super silt fence during, construction. And, they want to have third-party construction inspections, and that's really been a pitching point that the neighbors have really wanted the applicant to do. Staff's a little uncomfortable with that, but, specify details about the permanent stormwater control measures and specify where the stormwater outfalls kind of will go, and we'll just be free out there. They do have their public hearing set for, September 2nd in the evening. So that'll be their next, public presentation. And just so you guys know, there is a council meeting on August 19th, but all the cases I'm listed here are going down. The August 19th, council. Any questions on this one?
I know it's not stormwater, but are they gonna have to put a dedicated right turn lane?
Depending on the intensity used, I would assume so, but can't say. If they need to.
Is that the sheets?
Sheets of road here.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, the sheets is here. There's a Northwest Police Station right here. Some other industrial use here and a neighborhood down here, and then neighborhood and townhomes kind of up that way. Long Lake and Carmax are kind of off on the screen there.
And just one comment I wanted to make, especially as related to that, third-party construction inspections. I think that was something that the neighborhood, the Lake Ann neighborhood has asked for. And I believe, one of their concerns was because they are in the county, they're not in the city, would erosion and sediment control enforcement be relevant, right? And I think that's partly why they may have asked for that third-party construction inspection, but I do want to reinforce the city, the property being developed is in the city limits. Even if there were off-site sediment and erosion that went onto the county, we still have full enforcement authority for that site. So I just wanted to clarify that because that's been a question that's come up.
Their bridge control permit. They can't.
No, it would come from the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just from the city.
Everything's draining into the county.
It's draining into the county, but the parcel being developed is in the city.
Yeah, that's minor, it's kind of the
Parcel.
Right, correct.
Yeah, and I mean, stormwater's main concern is just the communication issue. Like, we don't want the neighbors to feel like they're gonna call third party and not call us. Like, if they're saying an issue, we want to know about it as soon as possible. So I guess that's mainly staff's concern.
We can enforce a third-party construction inspector cannot enforce. That's the main issue is as long as we're in the loop on any concerns there. So that we can apply enforcement authority as we can.
Just wanted to add the context of this case. One, my house is right there. Right there, with Chester down. So I'm very familiar with this case. I just want to shed some light on the conversations that I've had, because it is confusing. It's confusing for council. So I just want you to know what we're concerned with. This third party is what council is really struggling with, because it's hard to say, set that as a precedent. Councilor Silver said we want to mitigate the impact with conditions. And this one doesn't, we don't know what this is doing. I've had conversations with the lawyer team and the neighbors there. They've gone through 2 rounds of having to clean that. It is theirs, they own it, but they've spent about $140,000 as a neighborhood to keep that clean because of upstream development there. So that's their concern. Their concern is, I don't have, we don't have all the money in the world to be able to keep doing that. However, on our, goes away, but there is something that we have to balance, and that's been really difficult. If we take off that condition, which is what I know Councilor Silver is interested in removing that there's confusion why we need it, then the neighborhood is not in support. Right now with this, they are in support of the case, and they're like, "Cool, you can go ahead and do it." They're I mean, they don't want it, but they've done it. If we remove that, they will no longer be in support of the case. And so that's where this balance of, oh God, I know Wayne and I have met, and I'm going to continue to meet with them to kind of understand what we can do if this is the perfect solution. But I do want to represent, you know, even though those are not Raleigh residents, right now they don't have representation. I just want to make sure their voices at the table as to why they're concerned. They are in support if we keep that third party, and we're not paying, so there's nothing, the city, no taxpayers are doing anything. So that would be part of the conversation. I don't know where it's gonna land. I don't know how council's gonna feel about that. But if we lose that, they will no longer be in support. So I just want to make sure that was specified.
Thank you for
Thank you.
that.
Just for my education, so the entities that are older up there, CarMax and Auction USA, all those other guys that have a lot of impervious, are their stormwater permits, are they static? So they might be less than if somebody moved in today, the requirements for them?
So CarMax was prior to our stormwater ordinance.
Right.
And so they don't really, so prior to 2001, which is when we started our stormwater ordinance, but they don't have necessarily a stormwater device. Long Lake does, essentially have a stormwater device, and their stormwater device is Long Lake.
Okay.
Because they've guided a bunch of stormwater ordinances throughout, at least throughout my tenure here.
And that's the apartment complex, just.
Oh, no, it's a huge subdivision place that takes townhomes and.
Right, oh, okay.
It's like a kind of a huge kind of development.
Right.
Yeah. So, but, any of the upstream since 2001 that has stormwater devices, like this townhome, for instance, that they've had a stormwater device, and then like when you see the S up there. Yeah, like where you see the S up there, like they have a stormwater device because they redeveloped. But yeah, if CarMax or any other car lot was pre-2001, all that impervious kind of grandfathered in to our regulations, right? Because they can redevelop and keep that impervious footprint the same, not necessarily having stormwater control devices.
I was just trying to understand how onerous trying to keep their lake clean is for residents. Like, with all of that upstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, next one is the stormwater text change, which is basically getting us into, state compliance with built upon area or impervious area. And also to address an issue with residential lots that are over an acre, that their impervious cover was pretty much sliced by 3/4 when we passed our last, text change with to conform with the new model ordinance. And that'll be held in September 2nd, evening public hearing.
What is being changed in national states BUA?
It's being changed to match the state's BU.
Okay, is it, there's something with gravel or?
Exactly. The state's BU. And we're actually enforcing the state regulation.
Okay. What are you gonna have the 4 inches of gravel on top of the?
We do not.
Yeah.
It's part of the state ordinance. So,
Okay, I'd be curious to talk to you about that, because I'm running into that situation a lot.
you're talking to me outside the city building about
You're already enforcing,
that.
yeah, based on state statute, right?
It's based on the state.
You're just trying to clean up.
Correct, yeah, we're cleaning it up.
Yep.
Yeah, and the residential lots over an acre is not something the state's really concerned with. It's just something that we have. If you recall from our zoning layers, if you're in 1 acre lot, you used to have a 21% impervious maximum, and the state rule changes that we adopted, that went to 5%. But the state looks at disturbed area, not lot size. Disturbed area as our driver for stormwater, so we're kind of making a meld of those two things, for lots over an acre for single family and duplex and triplex. Not for any subdivisions or anything like that. They would all have full stormwater compliance if they're doing a subdivision. It's one lot. Single family detached or triplex or duplex. They would get the old impervious application they had before we changed. It's 20.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Ben. Okay, Wayne, I believe there's a long list of items, staff updates and things like that.
Yeah, there are. I'll go through them quickly because several, so the work plan is attached, the draft fiscal year 26 work plan will be on an agenda item later, today, as will the SMAC annual report. So we'll talk more about that. Brief update on city board and commission bylaws. So, city council has had a special committee that has been looking at all of the boards and commissions, that serve the city, much like this one. And there's been a few outcomes of that, special committee discussion. One of them is that the bylaws of those boards and commissions have varied widely, in terms of what they are, what's contained in them. And so council has asked that, we all standardize to come to not exactly the same, but very similar bylaws. Our commission's bylaws are actually already in good shape and very similar to the template. Very few changes, but we will be working with the template that has been created, incorporating some of the SMAC intricacies, like the types of seats that we have, and so forth, into the new bylaws and bringing those to you for your review. Scott Bryan's been working on that. The plan is we'll bring you a draft to look at at the September meeting, for you to review, and you'll have time. There's no specific deadline that's been set. So, if you read through it, if you have any questions, we can wait a month or two. But the overall plan is that you all will review those, make a recommendation, then they will go to council for final approval again. Really, I've read through them, don't see any major changes or concerns from the templates. Like I said, our bylaw was already very similar to the template, but there were a lot of other boards and commissions that were very different that I think are more impactful. The other thing that special committee did, and it won't affect SMAC, there were a handful of commissions that are being combined that had very similar charges, like this, historical boards and cemeteries and things like that. There were a few, and some of those boards and commissions weren't quite as active, had trouble getting quorums, and so they're combining some of those boards and commissions to be a little bit more streamlined. But again, that SMAC will not be impacted by any of those changes. So that's that. So more to come on that. Just wanted to point out, our team has put together some very nice GSI virtual tours that are on the website. Thanks to Dory for pulling those together, and Ariel has helped with all the photographs, and it's a really nice storyboard if you have a chance. Probably the easiest way would be to go to your email where you got this document and click on the link, but it's a really nicely done storyboard on GSI. So invite you to take a look at that. We do have some stormwater staff updates in the last couple of months, so I would like to make some introductions, and I'll ask our new team members to stand up as I'm introducing you. I'll start off with Stephanie McDermott has joined Raleigh Stormwater as our new watershed planning senior engineer. She comes from the private sector where she was a stormwater engineer with a national consulting firm, actually worked on several City of Raleigh projects for us. So she's familiar with our program already. Brings 9 years of experience in planning, design, and program management, including most recently managing the Wake County One Water Plan. She has a bachelor's degree in bio and ag engineering from Auburn and a master's degree in water resources planning from Georgia Tech. In her new role at the city, Stephanie will be taking on the development of watershed studies and priority area studies. Welcome, Stephanie. Glad to have you here. Next, I would like to introduce Natalie Hoy. Natalie has joined the stormwater team as our very first dedicated senior contract specialist. So this is a new position that we've created with all of the contracts that we are routing now. In this role, Natalie will be supporting contracts management and project managers along with a range of fiscal responsibilities. She brings several years of experience in business administration and customer service with a strong background in contract review and processing. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from NC State, and we're looking forward to having her experience, skills, and positive energies to our team. Welcome. I'd like to introduce Will Shell, who is the fourth and final member of our Green Stormwater Infrastructure Maintenance Team. He will serve on the GSI maintenance crew as natural resources and parts specialist. He grew up in Boone, North Carolina, where he spent much of his childhood outdoors exploring the Blue Ridge Mountains. He came to love nature and eventually decided to pursue a career in the environmental field. He graduated with a degree in sustainable development from Appalachian State University. And since then, has taken various internships and jobs across the country, gaining varied experience in conservation, natural resource management, and parks maintenance. He's excited to apply his experience and knowledge to our GSI team, which exists at the intersection of parks, natural resources, and essential city services. When he's not at work, you can find him playing disc golf with friends, hiking with his wife and dog, or relaxing at home with a good book. Welcome, Jill. Welcome. And lastly, I'd like to introduce a new intern, Chloe Bondi. Joins us. She will be assisting with stream assessment, stream bank repair workshops, and buffer enhancement initiatives. She's originally from the Lake Norman area. It's about to start her senior year at NC State. She's studying biological and agricultural engineering technology with a concentration in environmental systems management. Likes to spend time with her friends and family, try new coffee shops, and go on walks. And I'm not sure that Chloe was able to join us here today, but we're glad to have her on our team. Okay, moving on, high priority topics. So since we met last in June, the city's new fiscal year 26 has begun. So the rate increase that we had been talking about to $8.11 per equivalent residential unit per month has gone into effect. And we are operating under the new fiscal year 26 budget now. So I'm glad to have that moving. The web link for events has additional public meetings. Please check that out when you have a chance. And then finally, notices prior to construction, a number of projects listed. The one that I'd like to note, the Dunbar repairs. This is one that came to us unexpectedly recently, and we had identified this as a pipe leading repair. But before we were able to get to repairs as a capital project, it ended up failing, created a sinkhole in the road. So we have had to close Dunbar Road. It's a residential street that does not have a lot of traffic and all homes are accessible otherwise. But that road remains closed and we are proceeding under emergency procurement. We have an engineer and a contractor in place working to get that repaired as quickly as possible. So that's the only one really unusual, but be glad to answer any questions about the others if there are any.
Any thoughts as to why that collapsed?
It was a tight joint separation that we had identified as a problem and had it on our list of repair. Just were not able to get to it quickly enough before enough soil had collapsed between the joints that created that sinkhole finally and caused the road to start collapsing. It was a very small collapse. There wasn't any danger really, but we had closed the road. And as it keeps raining, it has continued to deteriorate. Thankfully, we got it closed before it got real bad, but we are proceeding. That's why we're proceeding with an emergency procurement. Every time it rains, it gets a little bit worse. So we want to go ahead and get that fixed as quickly as possible.
Anybody have any questions for Wayne? Anything you reported out? No? Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
All right, we have Stephen here to talk about Raleigh Rainwater Rewards projects, and looks like we have 5 of them.
Right before we get into that,
Who's that guy?
pretty hard to, so he can come up next. Your quarterly report through the end of last fiscal year is included in your backup memo. Please let staff know if there are any questions. Secondly, I would like to, it's my pleasure to introduce the rain plan staff that have joined us today. City of Raleigh has partnered with Rain Plan for a 3-year contract and an optional 4th year to provide both, to use their terms, tech and non-tech support for Raleigh rainwater wards. And that includes, but is not limited to, software to facilitate the generation of unique property cards for every parcel in the city of Raleigh. Provide a buy now, pay later mechanism called Green Spending Advance, which provides gap funding for applicants who are interested in pursuing a project. And will also be heavily involved with a software application that will improve interface with the public and realize internal efficiencies through our process as the program grows. So just wanted to introduce Cooper Martin here, who is the National Program Director, Keisha Brown, who is the Customer Service Director, and Russ Fry, the Senior Project Manager. And hats off to these guys. They got a heavy dose of Raleigh Rainwater Awards today, an all-day event. So appreciate you joining us and being so happy to take any questions. And as you move on to the project, Stephen's here to field any questions for those.
So I think they will come back at a later time and give the commission kind of a more comprehensive view of what they're doing with us. We'll have the opportunity to do that later.
Absolutely. Looking forward to showing off the program enhancements and how we're interfacing with the public through that platform. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Graham, I know you mentioned my name. I'd be happy to answer any questions based off the memo that was received about the Raymond Awards program or the applicant, excuse me.
Does anybody, I guess, have any questions? And do we need to feel like we want to talk about any one of these individually at all? Does anybody want to pull one out for individual? And this is would be in the, this would be in the fiscal year, so all the money's been kind of replaced, I guess.
Yes, I think this memo did include the quarterly report as well.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Quarterly report was through the end of last fiscal year. All of these projects are for fiscal year 26.
26,
Yeah, okay.
No questions, so now, I guess we'll put them all up for approval at once. So, anybody want to make a motion? We're good. Second? All in favor? Okay. Approved. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Now, Chaz, we have drainage assistance and stream stabilization projects. You're gonna talk to us about a few of them.
Well, that's loaded below Chaz Webb, drainage techniques and stream stabilization programs, which is under the CIP division in stormwater. And it's nice to see you guys. Very excited. It's been a little bit. So we're excited to be back. We have 4 projects that we're going to talk about today. And just an overview of the presentation. We'll talk about stream stabilization drainage systems, what we do as a program, just kind of a refresher and kind of update some of our new members. This is what we do. We'll talk about the model enhancements. We will then talk about the 2 drainage systems projects. We also will talk about the 2 stream stabilization projects and then recommendations and questions, and we'll stop after each project so you can ask questions. Wow. So always like to start off with the stormwater management board division to preserve and protect life, support healthy natural resources, and complement growth, sustainable growth within the Raleigh community. And I feel that the stream stabilization and drainage systems programs do just that. So just in order to qualify for these 2 programs, you have to own property in Raleigh city limits. You have to have stormwater runoff from public property or street. So that could be a county school, it could be a park or public right of way. And you have to be willing to donate a drainage or conservation easement as well. Now, what we do not cover is we do not cover the lot to lot drainage. So say you have a lot that goes uphill that flow through any public property or street, we wouldn't cover that. So the program process, the citizen will call and email about flooding or severe erosion. Our staff, our drainage investigation staff does a very good job of responding very promptly to citizen requests. We work with the citizen and try to figure out the best approach, whether it's screening or drainage, if it qualifies or if it doesn't qualify. And then if it qualifies, the project is scored and then ranked. Just want to show you a sample project that recently got completed. This is 810 Northbrook. The before picture is on the left, as you can see, and the after picture is on the right. We had 200 linear feet of stream stabilization on older holes. So again, this was something that the homeowner did not have to pay anything in. It was just donating an easement. And as you can see, we've gone in there and done some very nice repairs to help with the erosion under. Another thing that we do is the stream repair workshops. We partner with NC State Bio and Ag. Dominic Smalls does a very good job leading these courses. This was on Watkins Street. You can see the before picture on the left. The during picture, that's Mitch Woodward with NC State. And we get out there and we get a number of volunteers to come out, some formatting, logs. And then the after results, you can see some very good vegetation has grown in an area that had been unstable. So this is another service that we provide for the citizens. So the funding approach, we have about $1.25 million in annual funding. Design funds will be allocated in this fiscal year. That'll be fiscal year 26. Construction funds will be allocated in future fiscal years. It depends on the nature of the project, how fast we can get the construction funds and approvals done. But we'll see that as we've gone through, and we try to figure out that balance of how much we're going to spend that fiscal year. I know one of the feedback we got from the commission last time at Brazil last year was showing how much we anticipate to spend this fiscal year, which we will do. With this funding, we can approve 3 drainage systems and 3 stream stabilization projects per year, and their funding is based off their ranking prioritization. So the prioritization model, we have non-major criteria that we use to score projects. A lot of it is driven by public safety, flood hazard reduction benefits, and regulatory mandates and compliance. And all these other categories do play a part. But when we're going at, and staff is looking at these sites, we do try to score as accurately and consistently as we can. So the model enhancements were reviewed. We did some model enhancements. All projects previously scored and then rescored based off the model weights. We went through each project. Matthew and I also went through a lot of the sites in person just to make sure everything was consistent. We felt it is. So we felt we had some very accurate projects that we are taking for you today. All right. So this is the project locations. These are all the approved projects that SMAC has approved under the drainage program. These are the red dots. And then the blue markers are the 2 proposed projects. We have the first project will be Wood Spring Court. And then we will have the second project that we will review. This is the pending list. This represents 15 out of the 47 projects on the pending list. So again, you can see the total project score. This is how we rank it. That was used by the non-major criteria that I talked about before. And we go through and rank these. And then the model will split it out. And but we do check. We are checking for accuracy. Again, we check all the scores. We also do rechecks, or if the conditions have gotten worse, if the citizen lets us know the conditions have gotten worse, we do go back out. So the first project is near Falls Lake. You can see just here near the end of the county city border. This is, even though there is area that is next to the property that is outside of city limits, it is in the Raleigh ETJ. But the house was built in 2002, 15, 16, right here, we have a 48-inch pipe that runs kind of around the house into Wood Spring Court. This is fed by an area in county property. And this shows the extent of the flooding. Picture on the left is showing 15, 16. We have pictures across the street. We have street flooding as well. This floods about every year. The homeowner, Mr. Clegg, voice here. So he's been out and has had a lot of issues trying to keep up. But there's quite a bit of flooding that's going on, which is how it rains people one. Let's break it down to speed and house speed. So not only do we have structural flooding, we have street flooding as well. You can see the so this is looking at the inlet at the upper end of his property. You can see it's fed by a single grate. So you have a 48-inch pipe that is fed by one single grate. And Mr. Clegg has done a very good job, or he's tried to do the best he can to try and mitigate the flooding and try to get that water to flow into the grate. This picture here on the right is looking from the left side, looking from grades to the left, again, trying to burn it up as much as he can to keep the water from getting into his houses as much as he can. So we would add an additional inlet with minor grading as necessary. We would coordinate with our partners, Transportation Field Services, to do the work. The drainage basin to this area is about 20 acres. So we would try to achieve the 10-year storm to be consistent with the stormwater design manual. That is something that we have to do. All of our projects have to meet the stormwater design manual. We can't do work outside of city limits because we have to do work within city limits. That's part of the policy. And so we minor grade as well. It may be a bigger inlet. So there's a lot of debris, as you can see, that's getting in, which we believe is contributing to some of the clogging that's going on. With TFS doing the work, it does help with a lot of our costs as well. So we do try to partner with them. They have limitations as to what they can and can't do, but we did check with them. There was an interest on their part to do this project. And so costs coming in at $20,000 for study engineering, production costs $40,000. Throwing a contingency of $30,000, 50%, we come up with that $90,000 estimate. I know these seem high. I will just give you an advance warning. The costs you're going to see for the other three projects will be even higher. We are seeing a lot of escalated costs. But it's important that the costs that we project are accurate as well, because that's how we get into a situation where we can't take projects because we are allocating those funds in this fiscal year. And if we're having to play catch up with cost escalation because of inflation, that's how we get to the point where we can't bring projects. Trying to kind of guard against that. Yes,
Is that new that you're adding that contingency of 50%?
that's a much higher number than I have.
Because you have the past few years.
Yes.
And where are we basing the 50%?
So we had gone with 25% in the past, and we have seen, even with that, we are seeing some of those projects coming in over that amount of what we estimated, even with that big 25% contingency. We are still seeing the opinions of probable construction costs still coming over, but as well as some of the engineering costs as well.
Makes sense, like small projects.
Yeah, to clarify, this is before the project's been designed. So
Right.
you're just putting a best case scenario kind of based on past work number on it, right?
If it comes in under, that's great. That gives us more money to do more projects. But we'd rather be conservative on this map.
But you're not replacing the 48 inch, you're just adding more
Yes,
capacity to get the water in.
we believe the pipe is adequately sized. It's just a matter of getting that water into the pipe.
Okay.
It's up to you. It might be easier to go ahead and approve them as you do have to approve it. Correct. Correct. Yes, that's right. And you can do them individually, or if you'd like to wait till the end, and do them together, that'd up to you. It might be easier these are a little bit more lengthy, a little more complicated, so it might be easier to just do as we go along.
Yeah, I'd say we just do it as one at a time, so we don't forget about it. So, okay, that's okay with that. Yeah, anybody want to make a motion or have additional questions? Yes.
I'll make a motion.
There we go. And then second, all in favor of approving?
And on to the next project. We have, down the road, we have 3 projects. We are west of New Hope Road, east of US 1, northeast Raleigh. Zoom in, look here, 3701, 3705, 3709, 36-inch, corrugated metal pipe running through. And what we're going to see on the next slide is we have a driveway in failing condition. It's in need of work. This is a one-way in, one-way out. So this is how it's scored high, where we have a safety factor of if you have to have emergency vehicles get in, because this is water that comes from the public right of way. This is how this scores high. You can see, what it looked like in 2024 and how it's eroded out in 2025. It's a very significant difference. Matthew and I went out 2 days ago, it was yesterday. And it's even gotten a little bit worse than that. So it's kind of one of those situations we want to tackle, get on it pretty quickly. Other thing here is, and just a little reference point, that driveway is the driveway you saw. This is looking down, this is downstream, looking upstream. We have a 6 to 8 foot sinkhole that is in that downstream property, 3705. As you can see, we have a rod here, kind of gives you a length of rod, 4.5 feet. We have put that in the sinkhole, and you can see the depth, just to give you a reference as to how wide and deep the sinkhole is. So the plan would be to replace the driveway, the 36-inch pipe may be upsized, but we would do reinforced concrete pipe. Daylighting, so create an open channel right about this area and running through from 3705 to 3701. Range spacing to this area is about 43 acres. So again, we would have to make sure the driveway is secure and then make sure the flows are adequate, as well as meeting easement requirements of the design.
So in this situation, 3 neighbors would be given a drainage easement.
Yes, and they all have agreed to, they have signed the consent form. And I just want to clarify that consent form doesn't mean they're not binding to it. It just means that they are willing to donate it. When the time comes, if we do keep the homeowners in the process, we allow them to see 30%, 60%, 90% design. They have plenty of opportunity to withdraw. This is a voluntary program. Nobody forces. It's voluntary. Up until the point that they sign and report the easements to Lake County, they have that opportunity to withdraw. This just lets them know that they intend to donate that easement.
And at that point, when they sign, do you start construction after they sign or?
With Lake County,
They sign before you start. You've done all your engineering, but before you do your construction.
right, then we go at, we don't bid projects until we have those easements, because if they don't sign the easement form, then we're.
Yeah. Okay. Just confirm.
And can you describe, like, if they were to sign that easement, just looking at that middle house there, what would that easement look like? They obviously have the house there and then where the line's going through after that. How much of that, out of curiosity, what would that look like for that property?
Yeah, so, 43 acres, I think we're looking at, if we make an open channel, we have to make a 50-foot easement according to the stormwater design manual.
Okay,
So what we would have to do, we have to get an ingress egress easement as well. And then we get a drainage easement over the area.
So it's not construction, it's permanent maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I could just, I know there's a couple new members and it's been a little while, so just contextually, if I could, these are all privately owned pipes. Okay, on private property, not city pipes. So the Drainage Assistance Program provides assistance to private property owners to help make the repairs on their private infrastructure. In exchange, as Jess said, for them donating the easement, but then from that point forward, it will become public city-owned infrastructure. We will have the easements, and then the city will take over responsibility from that point forward for maintenance. But they start out as private infrastructure beforehand, which is why I think you're seeing some of the decay and failing infrastructure. Just a lot of property owners don't understand their maintenance responsibilities, and so it has not been maintained properly. So this program is assistance to help private property owners who don't understand and don't really have maybe the means to do that type of maintenance. We'll come in, fix it, and then take over that responsibility from that point forward.
A lot of these are legacy from prior, I mean, before stormwater regulations existed, before 2001, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was platted in the sixties, I think, so way before the stormwater program.
Any mitigation credits for opening up the street?
That's a good question. I asked the same question.
Buffer in.
Yeah.
That's true.
No, it's a fair question, and we did look at that. This is a pretty deep pipe. So, and Chad said, I think the easement may be 40 or 50 feet. It would probably be a lot wider than that if you had to slope back and do a full stream stabilization, restoration project to get credits from that. So probably would be a very difficult project to open up and have an open channel. But it's a good question, and we did talk about that.
Any other questions on Donald Road?
I do want to show you the cost.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
I know.
Wow, that's different.
I know this is a lot, but this is what we are seeing now with a lot of opinion of construction costs that have been coming in. And what I would hate to do is go under and then run into the situation again where we have run out of funds and cannot take projects again.
Do you have any questions now?
just, I know on the rainwater rewards side, there was kind of a cost sharing portion of that, and I should absolutely know this, but for drainage assistance, there is no cost
Correct.
sharing, it's 2%.
Correct. No, that's a good distinction. So there used to be a cost share associated with the drainage system program. And I'm gonna check my dates. I think it was maybe 2016. Is that right? In 2016, we changed the policy for the city to cover 100% of the costs. And the reason that the city did that was that we were finding a lot of residents did not have the funding ability to even do a small portion of the project. And so the projects we were doing were not fairly distributed across the city. It was only maybe more wealthy homeowners that were able to do those types of projects. So we stepped back. And because there's a public benefit, there's public runoff that is going into these pipes. We felt like it, and because the city will then take over the easements and responsibility, we did believe it was in the public best interest for the city to get involved and fund 100% of these projects. The slight difference on rainwater rewards is it's more of a water quality focus. So there's not a public safety element to those projects. It's a voluntary water quality benefit project where there's more of a cost share. Now, as you know, we do have 100% subsidy program for qualified applicants who meet the income threshold or the rental threshold. So we do have a program, but the majority of rainwater rewards do have that either 10 or 25% cost share.
Yeah.
Contribution. That, and answer your question, but good question, yeah.
Fair enough.
Just to clarify, is it like when you do the drainage on that line, that the city doesn't take over the ownership of that line where the drainage is, right?
We do with these projects,
Oh,
once the,
you do?
yes,
Okay.
so with the drainage assistance, one of the qualification requirements is that the property owner will donate the easement to the city for free, then the city pays for all of the improvements. And we then take over the maintenance responsibility within that public easement from that point forward. That's part of the bargain. And as Chaz described, we asked them to sign a kind of a letter of intent, basically beforehand. Then we do the design. And as part of the design, we define the easements and where the easements would be needed. And that's what starts the easement donation process. And then only once those easements are officially donated to the city, and signed over and deeds recorded, then we start construction, once we have the easements in place. So that's part of that process.
The last project is gonna be done in-house with the TFS team, and this one is gonna be bid out of, so is that the expectation currently?
Yes, we did this out. And that's in part why the costs are going up significantly, higher. Much different project as well.
Right, yes.
Yes.
Right, anyone wanna make a motion? Conversation?
I do have one more slide, it's just,
Oh my gosh, he's full of surprises. Not moving along, man.
this is the overall summary of, so again, breaking down the fiscal year allocation, we're gonna do the design this fiscal year, construction next fiscal year. So that helps us balance the budget a little bit better. So that's all for this process.
And you had that available budget because you guys had sat down for a little bit, right? Okay.
Right, we had, so a couple of things that happened with COVID was we had project delays and we were still approving projects and allocating funds for those projects. And so we started encumbering costs at a later date. That's why we're having this revised format, is because we want to encumber the cost as accurately as possible when we allocate those funds or spend those funds. Rather than, the old system would have been just taking the 90,000 for Woodspring and allocating it in just this fiscal year, when we're actually spending money in future fiscal years. Same thing with darn.
If I could just to clarify too, so this year for the second project, the Donna Road one that Chaz was just presenting, notice this fiscal year, we would only be incurring the design for the $105,000. The 420 would be an allocation that we would take out of next year's fiscal year 27 budget. And that's what we're finding is a much more effective way. It's much more similar to how we budget our overall larger CIP projects in consecutive fiscal years.
Does it mean that the project will also be 2 years, or are you gonna be like maybe from?
It might not take 2 full years, but it will be funded over 2 fiscal years.
So with the remaining budget in fiscal year 26, if we would have some money to fund some smaller, quicker projects. Sure.
Yes, we would have some, we could take that, but we go through on a routine basis and look at where projects stand, because, you know, projects will get delayed, sometimes they get moved up, and if those projects get delayed, then they get delayed to future fiscal years potentially. And we have to update our numbers. So this is, if I come back in later this fiscal year, hopefully, and you say, why did that number change?
As we're bidding projects, that planned encumbrance number can change, right?
Yes. All surprises for drainage systems.
Great data, Doug. Thank you for continuing to give us information. I would make a motion, vote this on Donna Road, because we already made a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, we have a second, Robert. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, Janice.
And now we go to stream stabilization projects. So this program was created in 2022. This is a recent program that got created. So that's why you don't see as many, red dots on here. But this was created to focus more on stream stabilization, projects, rather than drainage systems. So again, we're not looking at, flooding, we're looking at severe erosion that is threatening structure. Again, this similar list that you've seen, again, we top 15, but we have 39 projects for stream stabilization. So the first one, 1837 White Oak Road, and I do want to point out that the owner is here, appreciate it, taking some time to come out. And this is a zoomed in look, so I'm going to kind of clarify what this map is a little bit. So this is right of way that has been identified on our mapping system. We're not sure exactly why. We would have to do a little more research. So that would come when we do this, we hire the engineer, do the surveying work. It could have been an old sanitary sewer project. I don't know, but we want to make sure we get that checked. This pink right here, this is easement, from a CIP project, a recent CIP project on with Preston. So there's some layers to this, but that also that is a stormwater easement that we may be able to potentially utilize. And we have a retaining wall. Again, that's what that survey is going to show as well as that we want to know exactly where this retaining wall is. Here are the pictures. So this is the edge of the house, the structure. You can see there's erosion going on, retaining wall and deteriorated condition. Again, very, very close to the house. So that's how it's scored high. This is why it's number one. Those are the threats of the structure. And then we look across, this is looking across the creek. This is the other side. So this is not the side from the house. And then this is a different view of the house as we're looking towards south. And so this is where it gets a little bit interesting. We would want to come up with a solution that one protects the home, but we have some permitting requirements here. We did get NCDQ to go out last week to do a buffer determination. You will see there's pipe, there's a 48-inch pipe upstream, there's a 48-inch pipe downstream. They determined this area to be a Neuse River buffer, which adds some complications. So I know we don't particularly want to pipe streams. That's not part of our overall mission. But when you consider considerations for safety to the house, something we would have to look at. We also want to make sure, you know, the integrity of the wall and the foundation are being preserved as well. So these are all things we're going to have to consider when we do our study, cost considerations as well, because again, these costs are going to be very, very high as well, because there's a lot of unknowns with this project that we don't know. Just so we understand that we can't hire a consulting engineer for these projects because they haven't been approved by council. So staff can't allocate design funds on private property until we have public approval. So that's part of why there are some unknowns. So the project, $75,000 for engineering, that is a lot for one property. But the total project cost, we're looking at $502,000. Again, there's a lot that is not known about this project that we have to account for. And so that is why that budget is as high as it is.
Interesting.
Yes.
Question on that. Can I go back to the map? Just so I'm assuming that obviously we just had a few pictures of just the house property and have the erosion that's happening there. I'm assuming that by doing this, it's helping downstream as well, right? drive with this one?
I think, is this the, where we had the sinkhole? There was a sinkhole years ago, and that was a drainage systems.
Where was it single?
Yep, that was in.
But I thought that in the road just downstream, this was. There's a
A single up above,
downstream.
downstream. I mean, that was where the one in Preston
Okay.
project.
So none of this is currently piped there.
No, that's not pipe. See, this is, it's right here, it's not pipe. See, that's where that pipe starts going downstream actually.
I couldn't tell there's a concrete bottom there.
Was in the pink, back to that one graphic, that pink, what were those areas?
That's an easement that, Raleigh Stormwater has.
Oh, it's-
Now we're finally getting there.
Just for clarity, that was from a emergency project.
That's what.
That's noted, it's like the Alexander emergency project. Trying to find detailed records of an emergency project that happened 15 years ago was really hard. We found some maps, we found some emails, but nothing concise before we can say exactly why. So our assumption is either part of the stream had to be fixed for similar reasons, and that is why it is now piped, or there were existing pipes that didn't fail. But
There's no house that will properly between that.
Would there be an easement from White Oak Road to the pipe?
Well, we would like to utilize this right away if we could to have less encumbrance of an easement. But we have seen rulings where this is not considered public right of way. So that's one of the things we would have to do, when we do research as well, and type search.
The plat looks interesting, it's good large development, I mean, that's a alley where that stream is going. Noted in the book of maps, so. Here, so back to would they dedicate any, with stream stabilization, I missed that, sorry, do they have to dedicate easements? That's just like, yeah, yeah. And your goal would be to pipe it, if you think, but yet this ruling by the state, you may have to keep it open.
We may have to give it, this is part of, we have to do the design, the engineering report, cost considerations as well as looking at structural integrity of the wall and the house and the foundation. Those aren't things that I can necessarily say right now for certain, because I don't have an engineering report, because we can't spend funds on an engineering report.
So just to be clear, I think the ruling by the state would not preclude it being piped, but we would have to do stream mitigation then to offset the pipe if we went that direction.
You have a whole slew of engineers, consultants, if you can't use any of them to help with the preliminary designs on these, just to.
We can't do any work on this until it's authorized by council to expend the design fund. So, yeah, so we would likely get we'll get one of our design consultants involved if and when this is approved by you all and then council. But this is just staff study phase at this point. We haven't done any real engineering design.
And the study that is in the budget, it is outside of study done by outside of stormwater. Or is it also in the stormwater that does the study and the design for the cost, so 75,000? I just wondering if.
Oh, the cost estimates are in-house. Those are Chaz and his team have put the cost estimates together. But once approved, we would then hire one of our outside consulting, private consulting firms to get involved to do the design.
Oh, gotcha. And how long usually is like the design and the study?
So it's gonna be, we're probably looking at 3 to 6 months. Now we have to go through council and then route the contract. And then we have permitting as well, which can often create some delays as well. So we have to be mindful of that.
Is it city, do you guys ever appeal calls like that or not?
No, I mean,
Okay.
no, it's the state's decision.
Right,
I mean, we could, but you know, we usually abide by, we haven't had reason to do that before. We abide by the
it
state.
just seems that the ones that I received before the EMC, that this would be a slam dunk, you guys would win this. Anyway,
Yeah, we went out there and the gentleman had this rating criteria and went through it very methodically and explained the score.
what was the score?
It was, I think it's 32. So,
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here.
wow.
It's not a historic structure.
I haven't seen, I mean, 1926, it's remodeled 1991. I didn't see any score.
You know, there was a couple of houses in the street that were historic.
It's a 30.5. So it scored into a perennial stream instead of just being an intermittent stream. Scoring as an intermittent stream, it would still have been buffered, but it scored out of that, it's scoring a perennial. Mostly because at the outlet where it discharges, it's created a large scour pool. At that big scour pool, there is life in there. He found multiple fish, sort of their amphibians, et cetera. When he was doing his investigation. So that's a huge contributor to that.
These really old neighborhoods are tricky.
Yeah, Have your hands full on this one. Any other questions? Would like anyone to take a motion, make a motion? One way or the other?
Back in the day, they had, 4 years ago, maybe, they had a project where it was going towards the property, and so they pretty much had to buy out the property, but I think no one was living in the property at the time. Is that the case? And in a case like, they had one where the pipe itself was kind of rerouting through it, and the city pretty much just had to buy out the property, because it was, cheaper than the project itself, or it
We
was
do look
for
at that.
safety reasons. It had
Yeah,
to be
we-
done.
We do look at that. In that case, it's actually upstream of this, maybe a quarter of a mile on Glenwood Avenue, 1909, I think you're remembering.
Okay.
That one,
Yeah.
and that one was a failing pipe. It was actually affecting the foundation, structural foundation of the back of the house. And, so, yeah, that was failing. So in that case, we did make the decision, to go ahead and buy that house. And it was for multiple purposes. One, the structure
Right.
was failing. But the other benefit of buying that property was that we had a much larger Glenwood Creston pipe rehabilitation replacement project that was
Right.
just upstream of all of that.
Yeah.
And that gave us access as well as construction staging.
Right.
area.
Yeah, I knew there was bigger contact
Yeah,
there.
yeah, so there was multiple reasons that it became advantageous to purchase that property. And, that project is under construction now. We provide an update.
Yeah.
Soon, but yeah, that work is on.
Seeing all
A
the
good
work
question.
done
Yeah.
like downstream of that and all that work in the neighborhood, but maybe that's.
All right, well, with that, you guys put the numbers back up there? Sure. Yeah. Make a motion to approve. Anybody want a second?
So,
Second?
Yeah.
Okay, Robert, second. Any further discussion? All in favor? I think that was everybody.
All right, got one more.
All right,
All right, this is Harbor Drive. So this is, a little bit up north in Mine Creek. Built in 1984. We got two properties. We have 7016 and 7012. We have a stream coming down through. And so we have severely active erosion that has impacted, or continues to threaten the structure about 30 feet. We have been out here several times. It has gotten progressively worse throughout the last year and a half. And as you can see, there's a big, sheer cliff that has happened under here. It continues to erode and get closer to house and structure. This is just another view looking towards the house. This is looking upstream, which is in part in the HOA lot. So the proposed solution would be implement some tiered retaining walls, vegetative slope, some stream alignments. And the drainage basin to this point is quite large as compared to the other projects, 430 acres approximately. So we are seeing a lot of flow, and which is in part why we are seeing this erosion that continues to actively get worse. So we have met with these two property owners. They have signed consent form. We've also talked to the HOA. It's been one of those processes of trying to get people on board. They are on board and moving toward the project. 7816, the house recently sold, and I think got in touch with the new property owner, so we have the consent. To the cost again, another high level cost. It's kind of what we've seen typical, but this would be a lot more work than the previous project in terms of sheer length. So that's why the costs are a little bit higher than the white costs.
Can you get back to the map? Yeah, that's parcel HOA property, the 1020.
Yeah, that's part of the HOA. We met with them and went out there.
The goal would be no piping in this one, more space. What they do. Yep. And you have the freedom with the HOA, you have the ability to move into their property a little bit, or they will.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
part of,
or not.
yeah, that's part of the design and surveying and looking at where exactly the stream is, in relation to the property lines as well.
Okay.
You'll need some sort of easement access.
Yes, so we would have to probably do an ingress egress easement. It's that is one of the things we work with our asset management team as well, just to make sure that whatever we're doing, that it can be maintained. So because we are accepting these to maintain it. Boss.
You promised to bring every one of these in under budget. Can you raise your right hand at this point? This is a lot of money. Every time we go, they get more.
So to be fair, if I could weigh in, my challenge to Chaz was to make it come in under budget and give us enough contingency to make that much more likely, because we have in the past, I think, not added enough contingency and had some unexpected costs. So we would much rather allocate more than we need and try to bring it in under. And then, like we said, those funds will then go back into the program. So it's not like they're being lost. But it's partly a reflection, I think, of some lessons learned and some guidance. So let's make sure we add more contingency. It's at least until we get through the design phase. We may do our design and then be able to come back and say, okay, we think we can do this for less than that. But at this point, it's just be an extra safety factor.
And you have to be safe in today's video.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I add just something just to answer that? I do appreciate the question. I just want to give you some background on when we read the agendas and we go through these. I will say that Councilor Patton and I are probably the most annoying in that we email the questions. Why are you going to say, why are this? Why is contingency so low? If it's a repetitive problem, why don't we increase contingency so that you don't have to hear me ask them? So I think that that's partly the guidance. I totally understand what you're saying. I too hope it comes in under, but because there were so many times where we have to do an amendment to now add some more, that was a lot of the questions that council was giving to staff. And I think this is in response to that, so that they don't have to be annoyed by us. Just want to give you that.
No, thank you for that context.
Anybody have any additional questions?
One more slide.
Oh.
I'm sorry. This is it. This is the same slide you saw with drainage system to the overall summary slide. Because we do allocate a little bit, one more fiscal year for street projects, because of the permitting design challenges, not straightforward with design. Some more easement, considerations as well, so that's why we push that.
But if the, one of those two projects had a pretty successful run in the next 8 to 10 months, you would, because you guys are doing budgeting in spring, you would be able to allocate the money, slide it up.
Yes, we would try to find funds to allocate.
mean that until fiscal year 28, we will not be able to take on or add another project because we don't have that much at the remaining budget.
Yeah, and that's part of why we're going very high with the numbers. Because we don't want to run into a situation where we don't allocate enough funds that we think we have projects, so we are being very conservative. But yes, we would, that is not a high number, but again, that adds to what we do with our, work with our asset management team, working with our financial team, to make sure we have funds to cover these projects.
Well, what's the annual allocation? What has been the recent, so it's an early program. What's been your starting from, inside the budget?
It has fluctuated. We started off, I believe, Emily's pulling up right now, with $500,000, and we went to, I think, $500,000, and then 250 is there. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, so, good, it's a good question. So Chaz is going off of our 10-year CIP, which so far we have allocated, in FY 27, $500,000 to this program, $750,000 in FY 28. So those are projections, though.
Okay.
In any given year, if we see more projects coming up and based on, costs that we're seeing, we have the ability to adjust those as we're preparing that next year's budget. So right now, these are just projections, but we can adjust that as needed moving forward.
That's it for my slides.
Sure.
There's one that says thank you at the end.
Anybody want to make a motion? Okay, motion and second. All in favor of moving the Harbor Drive forward? Okay, thank you, Chaz.
And can I ask a question for you?
Yes, sir.
What is your backlog? How many of these projects do you have, like a list of, right?
So that was the pending list.
It was only 39.
It was 39 for stream stabilization, and I think it was 47 for drainage systems. So I will take this time to highlight the great work that our drainage investigation staff has done. This was longer. You may have recalled from previous fiscal years that was longer. And what we did was we tracked where properties had been sold, and we reached out to those property owners. The team went out and said, hey, this previous property owner had been, on this list. They signed this form, which is tied to the property owner, not the property. Do you still desire to be in the program? A lot of them said no. I reached out to a lot of people that have been on the list. They said no as well. They said we don't wish to do the program, or they fixed the work themselves.
Yes, my question was, seems to me that this is going to be a growing issue. As we have all of these neighborhoods that were built prior to the ordinance.
Yeah.
If the aging structure, so I have feelings that's the needs going to grow. And
Yeah,
we
do expect that. And one of the things, just a little bit of a preview, we are, one of our on-call consultants, we are talking to them about a scope of work to help set up a design build delivery structure. It will help us accelerate the number of projects and reduce the schedule of projects with these programs in mind as one of the target programs that we would look at applying all this type of alternative delivery to try to speed up that delivery. So hopefully that will help us speed up and get through some of these backlog lists a little bit more quickly.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a way for you to be able to use your consultants to do some express designs to get some better estimates. Just give them a lump of them, just to give you a better number.
Agreed. And we have been doing that to some degree, bundling these projects in terms of the design and the bidding.
Mhm.
And that's helped, but I think we need to even take it one step further.
So being on this list wouldn't necessarily be disclosed during the selling of a property.
This is public information. That pending list is on our website. And, it's the owner's, responsibility to disclose that.
So it should be disclosed.
It should be disclosed. I'm not a real estate attorney, but I would say it should be disclosed. And I do know we have had public records requests for information related to that, related to sales. It's all public.
On the White Oak site, do you guys ever look at possibly doing a bottomless culvert in a scenario like that? I don't know all the details. It's true there. See what thought.
Yeah, we would want to see the engineer for a week. I mean, that's a lot of it is doing this conceptual design and seeing what works best for the situation. So the engineer and the survey would take small. When we don't roll anything out, but we want to, we have, you know, standard practice. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.
Let me ask, I think, Ms. Reddy, how many people the commission was here 2 years ago when I did a presentation on the flood over one system? Okay. Since Chad only left me 10 minutes, on a presentation it takes about 2 hours. 7 minutes. Yeah. That's a good list. Thanks, Jazz. Let's see. I think, Wayne, I'm gonna have a plug. You want
So here, my suggestion would be, I think this is an important presentation right now. The last one, the SMAC work plan and annual report is a very high level overview. You all have the drafts of those documents. We don't have to take action on those today. We can come back next month. So my suggestion would be for Kelly to go ahead and proceed basically as you were. Maybe leave 5 minutes before 5 to do the draft. We can talk about it very high level. If you all don't mind doing a little bit more homework on your own in terms of reviewing the annual report and work plan and giving us some feedback, and we can come back and finish that in September. And if we had to, we could go to October even if needed for the work plan and annual report.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion if that works for the commission.
We'll go through as quick as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Feel free to ask any questions you want to. I will ask Wayne. Wayne, I thought it's not that, and I can't pull up the live stuff because of this, but I did pull some slides in. Do you want us to go over that first?
Please do. I think this is relevant because this is yesterday.
Yeah, right,
Right, like crazy yesterday.
Yeah. Was it, well, I know you don't picture this back. Anybody know anybody who live in the Cary area? Oh, Stephanie does. You have any flood? Independence? Right here. Yeah. So this, yeah. So those that don't know, this is the City of Raleigh's stormwater, well, City of Raleigh, I wouldn't say storm. City of Raleigh collective. This is our gauge adjusted radar rainfall map that we have. We get updates every 5 minutes. I'll go through this now, so I don't have to go through it later. What happens is, we have rain gauges throughout the area. You can probably see all the dots all over the place, and we pull those into our system. And also, the system uses radar. Every 5 minutes, it takes that data, that's a radar screen. Now, radar gives you an estimate of rainfall,
but it doesn't always do a good job because the way the beam goes out in the sky, so it doesn't do as good job. So what happens in this system, it actually takes the rain gauge and it recalibrates the radar on the 1 by 1 kilometer grid pixel, right? And then redistributes that information spatially all across the map. So it gives us a better understanding of how much rain has fallen all over Raleigh. It used to be, a little extra note is, we have expanded the gauge adjusted radar rainfall in the last year and a half to cover all the Wake County. And we did that multiple reasons because we can get data sooner, because we're getting the information sooner, right? When it's outside our border, so to speak, but also it's helping our partners like Wake County to see they have access to the system as well, so that they can see what's going on in their areas. So yeah, as you can see, we have less about an inch or a little bit more here on the south east side of town, but over here in Cary and the Walnut Creek, some of the Walnut Creek watershed had 3 to sometimes 6, and I even saw one report of 8.6 inches on one of the Cocoa Rads gauges. So that's a lot of rain. So we're getting this information real time, right? Every 5 minutes, getting updated, and we're seeing this while we're monitoring. And this also gives us the ability, Wayne, he said he was looking at this earlier today, I think. This is our DDF, or depth, duration, frequency, or some people might know it as a 2-year storm, 10-year storm, or 50-year storm, whatever. So the system, knowing that you get those 5-minute updates on the rainfall, every 1 by 1 kilometer grid. And also in the background, there's tables of all the different storm events, where it's a 2-year storm event up to a 1,000-year storm event, right? And whether it's a 5-minute storm event all the way up to a 72-hour storm event. Okay, so you got this big huge table in the background. So the system's taking that gauge adjusted radar rainfall information and applying it to that table and looking and say, does it qualify to meet any one of these criteria? If it does, it brings the highest one return value back and displays. So you can see right here, if you see the scale over here, you can see even some of the places the system is saying had 200-year storm events in Cary yesterday. So, and some of this obviously come down into Walnut Creek. Lake Johnson came up 2.2 feet, but that's not compared to Lake Crabtree, which I all know. Where have you been to Lake Crabtree? It's pretty, right? It went up 5.2 feet. Can you imagine that? That's a lot of work. That's a lot of runoff. So this is information we can get in real time and see what's going on. Also helps to be able, when you're talking to folks like yourself, knowing what kind of storm event it was, or either taking something to council or something like that, know what kind of situation happened. All right, this was yesterday. This is what we call our watch points, or it's actually our gauges that we have across the city. And what we're seeing here is this red line is actually what happened during the storm event. The blue line was the prediction of what the system was predicting. So what it's doing is taking the radar, gauge adjusted radar rainfall information, the gauge information at the stream gauge, the hydrologic and hydraulic models, soil moisture content, a whole bunch of different things, compiling them in together and making predictions, and that's what the blue line is, okay? Now, if we were in real time, like we all are, these red lines would stop where this dotted line is. That would be the now. The blue line would be going out into the future. So the system is constantly making predictions on what happened. And actually, to be a storm event that just did something that nobody really expected, because the models weren't really predicting this storm event to get this much rainfall that we had. It actually did pretty well. Right? I mean, to do predictions that are going like 2 hours plus 3 hours, 4 hours out into the future, it did pretty well. It usually, if the stars are always Lake Johnson and Buck Jones Road, if you ever want, they always usually almost match perfect. So you can figure those out and plot in the rest of that. That'd be great. So anyway, so this is great information, because what we can do is obviously, if we know in advance at a certain time, because it gives us how high it's going to get and what time that might happen, we can provide that information to the first responders, police department. We can either prepare, which we did, I think it was yesterday, we prepared a WEA, a wireless emergency alert. Thankfully, we didn't have to send it out. What we did then went
We
out.
did another one for Hawes. right?
Yeah, we did have some flooding around Halls and Newport. We did send one out there for a situation, but we also staged one for Rose Lane. And because the models were saying it's going to get close to flooding, and it did. It came right up close to it, but it thankfully didn't flood. So yeah, about that far. That's literally about that far. And so thankfully we didn't have to send it out. So this gives us that ability to know potentially what's going to happen, and we can kind of stage in advance for it, if that makes sense. All right, let's get some photos. Guess what? We got cameras. Thankfully, I love the cameras. I think everybody does. Where we can see what's going on live, right? And we can report this to our emergency communications partners. We're calling 911 all the time to let them know about flooding on streets. We have a Teams chat that has a whole bunch of different people in the city on it. And I guess y'all know what I'm talking Microsoft Teams chat. Is we're sending it out communication, and everybody's getting that at one time and seeing what's happening. Our department, police department, communications, Parks and Rec, public utilities, a whole bunch of people on this thing in their seat, and we're giving all this information out. So this was Atlantic Avenue in Hodges. We also have a sign out there. This is with a sensor. It's a flood sensor, and it activates and starts the signs flashing to let the motorists know that there's high water in the area. So that one was activated yesterday as well because of this. Thankfully, it didn't get too much higher. This one. And this is a bad grainy picture. It looked really good on my computer just a minute ago. I was putting it together back here, Wayne, because I couldn't see it. But anyway, does anybody know what this says? See this? Union Station. This side area up under the railroad bridge, it floods quite often. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a vehicle right here. Thankfully, you can't see the license plate or anything. You know why it's sitting there? It's stalled out. They tried to drive through that water. And they got about right here and quit. They made it that far.
Do they have signage there about the depth? Maybe.
Well, that's something.
I feel bad about the driver that got.
Yeah, that's something probably put right there as a depth gauge so people can see it.
Otherwise it looks kind of flat.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit.
That's right. So we try to call 911 and get the police out there just as soon as possible. And they have become, because it's a repetitive issue, so they have become really good about responding. Matter of fact, they got there right after that happened and helped the folks get out. So.
This is a location, we've had the flashing signs, we still have people drive through it, we're actually looking at gates.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Track, but that's new, we've never done that before. So it's new, but we are looking at putting the practical gates at this location specifically.
Yeah, and that was on the slide. But anyway, we'll be updates. So gates there, that's something we're looking at. This is Rose Lane, okay? And you can see where the water goes. Can you see it right there? Right? It's literally, it was about that far from start to go over. And this was at 8:16 last night, which you really want that light. Camera just moves there. So this is great. With the cameras, you can see a lot of stuff, confirm a lot of stuff. So we got a gauge there. We got a flood warning sign system there. It activates and starts flashing, right? We got cameras there. So we can kind of verify things that are going on, which is, the cameras have become extremely helpful because it's live. Plus, we've had issues in the past year, unfortunately, where the gauge system that USGS has, their database has gone down. And we have contacted them, and for a while, you were kind of flying blind with the gauges. So without the cameras, it'd be hard to figure out what was going on. So they've been really helpful. Oh. So, all right, some other things we do, not only do roadways and look at that stuff now, but we also check our greenways. If you've ever been to the South State Street Greenway there at Walnut Creek. And yesterday it flooded enough, it was on both sides coming up. It flooded up, here's the tunnel that goes under right here. And you can see where it's flooded, so we can check greenways. Here's another view. That's a USGS camera that they have. This is South State Street showing the flooding that was going on Walnut Creek. And we also have a camera out at Lake Johnson. So we can keep an eye on what's going on over down. At the time, this was about 2 2 feet above, the spillway. That's a lot of water coming over the spillway. All right, and guess what? I caught USGS in action yesterday. They were doing their discharge measurements there at Fenton Street. They knew Fenton Street was going to get up, and so they set out there, because it's real flashy coming out of downtown, down on Pigeon House. So they set out there until that heavy rain started, and then they got their measurements. I sent that to their boss, so they could get it to them. So that might be the last one, yeah. So let's do this. Let's go. How much time I got, me?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, really? All right. Oh, Lord have mercy. Let's give you updates. So with the gauge network, we're looking to add 11 new stream gauges, 11 new rain gauges with the upcoming contract that we got from USGS amending that. I told you we're cooperating with Wake County. Wake County is going to be adding 10 lake level gauges to some of the lakes across, including inside Raleigh, right, that they operate, but most of them are on the northwest side of town. We're also looking at we're actually moving to cellular. We were on the Alert 2 network, which was a radio frequency network, and we still are, but we're going to be moving to cellular network, which was going to allow us to pull in that information into the city's database, and then will allow us to have backups. So we can have multiple backups. So in the past year, we've had, like I said, we had some issues with USGS's databases going down, or the websites and things like that, which left us blind. This will give us a different path coming from the gauges, to have our own backup system that we can then use in case if their stuff goes down. All right, and also it's going to have future satellite backup. So as you know, maybe you know, T-Mobile and others are using Starlink and others to do backup for text messages and eventually phone calls and things. So this system's going to have the capability to do that as well on a backup system. In case it's something in network. All right, well, what did I say? Oh, I told you about expanding the gauges just to radar rainfall. Also, we're adding weather models. We currently have weather models that go 1 hour, 18 hours, 3 days, and one that's rainfall that's 7 days. So we're going to be adding the GFS, which some people call the American model, and the European model. It's going to have 10 days or plus of weather information, rainfall data, which is helpful to us because if we got a tropical system, let's say, coming up, and we can know fairly confident, 7 days or so in advance, it's going to be great to know how much rainfall we may potentially get, because if we're going to lower Lake Johnson, that takes days to lower Lake Johnson, right? Because we want to capture stormwater runoff and try to prevent flooding as much as possible downstream on Walnut Creek. I told you about upgrading the GAR here to all of Wake County. Let's see. I'm gonna go through this. Got the inundation mapping. It has been added, I think, since the last time. We can see maps of how the potential flooding is going to happen across the city. Alerts and notifications. Let me get to another slide. Okay, here's one right there. We're going to be updating Union Station. Hopefully, we're working with facilities, City of Raleigh Facilities Group, and maybe potentially not just add to the flashing signs and add some gates that come down as well and block that off. Cameras. We have 19 flood cameras that are like transportation type cameras that are the 360 pan tilt zoom kind of cameras. We have 19 installed. We've got 14 more that are to be installed. So we'll have 33 of those cameras in flood prone locations. The good thing about it is we've got a total between us and transportation of 250 cameras that we can view during stormwater flood events or rain events to see if there's any flooding. Let's see, there's the solar cameras. We're still lowering the lake levels at Lake Johnson prior to larger storm events that we know about. If you don't know about it, you don't have time, you can't do it. But that's what we're doing. It's working well because I think since last 6 or 7 years, I think, since we've been doing this, I don't think Rose Lane has flooded. It used to flood about twice a year where it's impassable. And I think in the process that we've been doing, it hasn't flooded. Hopefully it continues to be that way. Yeah, and that's when we draw down the lake, as you can see, during those storm events, and it comes back up during. All right. You go, Scott. So we have increased the guard coverage. We have done greenway flood predictions. We have that now in the system, which we didn't have before. Additional gauge and flood prediction locations. So for instance, if we have a gauge at Highway 70 or Glenwood Avenue down at the mall, there's a gauge there. Used to, you have this gauge, but there's like 5 different road locations that could potentially flood. So you have one graph with 5 different roads, which got to be confusion. So now we're breaking those out, and each road will have its own graph, right? So if someone's looking at it, it would help them understand this better. Obviously, as I talked about, extending the weather forecast out to 7+ will be 10 days. We're building an in-storm event report, which is nice because while we're doing it in a storm and you're pulling together all the information to put up a report to send out hourly, it's a bit of a hassle. So we're trying to develop where you can just push a button and the system pulls all the information and creates it for you. And then you can just review it, and send it forward. That'd save a whole lot of time where you can do other things that need to be done. Public alerts and notifications. Now, let's talk about this. Wayne can help me if he wants to. This is something where he says done and working. So yeah, we are able to do that now. About that. So we had it before last time I was talking to you. So we have started doing that in the last few storm events, sending out wireless emergency alerts. One example is Tropical Storm Debbie last year, which was I think a good example. We went through all the processes of reviewing the models and reviewing the stream level forecast. Day after day, we saw Rose Lane was potentially going to flood during the event, right? It looked like it was going to get really close if it wasn't going to flood. So we decided to partner with our transportation partners and put out a sign. One of those like construction signs you see beside the road, the informational signs, to let them know that area may potentially flood during the storm that was coming up. We were able to do that ahead of time. Right, we used to couldn't do that because we didn't know anything that was going to flood or not, right? Now, and also we were able to stage 2, technically 2, wireless emergency alerts. One went out prior to the storm and pretty much said this may have a potential of flooding in Rose Lane, and it was sent out to the area residents in that area. And then we had another one staged that would be sent out if it was imminent about the flood, right? So during the storm event, it kept coming up, and sure enough, it got to the point we said, hey, we probably need to send this out. We did send it out. Rose Lane, I think it was about that much over the top of Rose Lane in one spot, about a width of a car. So, but it did technically flood. So, but this is something we're working on. We can do that now. However, we're working on it because there's a lot more we want to do. We want to build notifications and kind of stage them, where you don't have to go through the process of what does this need to say during an event, right? You want to be able to have it ready, we can send it out, the faster the better. So that's something we're working on now. Public facing platform, y'all might enjoy that one. Maybe we'll come back and present that and show that and let everybody see that before it goes public, right? So we're working on a public facing platform. It won't have all the bells and whistles that the internal ones to staff has, but it will have a lot of them, like gauge information, radar information, gauge adjusted radar rainfall stuff, and things such as that. And we're continuing to work with our regional coordination, like with Wake County. We're doing on gauges. How are we doing on that? You want me to keep going? All right.
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. So I talk a lot about this. So prior to, if we know a storm is coming up, prior to a storm event, we're doing things like running the forecast daily, right? If we know there's tropical system potentially coming, the creek level forecast here, we're running that daily and seeing how high the creeks may get. All right, we have meetings daily. Usually the National Weather Service has a meeting at 11:30, and then we meet at 12, right? We see what the National Weather Service has to say, then we meet at 12. All right, what did they say? What do we need? Do we need to keep doing things such as if we need to start lowering Lake Johnson? Okay, if we started lowering it, it takes a long time to lower it. We're talking days. So, do we need to keep lowering it? Do we need to stop? What are the rainfall predictions at? So this is a thing that's going on prior to an event all the time. All right, awareness, sending out, I talked about the emergency awareness alerts, prior to the event, put down signs, Ariel's helping wherever she's at there. She is sending out the social media stuff. We didn't have police and fire go door to door in flood prone areas, knocking on doors, letting them know that area may potential flood, and also putting stuff on the website. In the event, we're communicating constantly to the EOC if they're active, or emergency communication and city management about what's going on, calling 911, repeating stuff, reporting stuff, and putting stuff on social media. And like I said, we're starting to send out the alerts during the event as well. Here's an example of some of the reporting that's done. Just key messages, things that's happening, going on, creek levels, and what's about to flood or potentially going to flood. The signs that we have going fast. And you know what? Somebody wanted to talk about the lack of hurricane season. Did y'all see this right here? Y'all saw this. I know y'all in stormwater. I know you did. So we got a 60% chance of above normal season, right? 30% normal, 10%. I don't love normal 10%. That one, that's what happens. Right. So National Weather Service, or NOAA, is predicting 13 to 19 storms. We've already had four storms. None of them have been major hurricanes. Does that mean we got 3 or 5 more? Still, I don't know. We'll see. Guess what's out there? Y'all seen this? Y'all seen this? Yeah, you've seen it. Dexter, it's heading out. Don't worry about that. So I hadn't seen this today, so I really need to look. Disturbance number 1, they think it's going to go away and not cause a problem. They even think that this one right here, LMS 96, I think it is going to curve out and not cause a problem. We hope. But you can see it's kind of getting active, right? Oh, and just so nobody's talking about it, some folks are, they're not showing it. They think something might develop right here in the next few days. But anyway, if it don't, bad news is, they think that moisture is going to come up in the southeast, and it might just be a whole bunch of rain. So either way, you get rain, right?
Probably one like yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, I got this last night, so we'll see. So you can see, I don't know if y'all can tell, obviously here we are in North Carolina. Here we go. Over here's Africa and all the tropical waves that come off, right? All the waves that come off. And if you notice anything, there's a whole lot more starting to come off than there were. Not too long ago, you haven't really seen anything. Maybe some stuff developing over here. And now you're seeing, here's one trying to develop, and there's another one back there. So just get ready. It's that time of the year because the wind shear is dying down. The waters are starting to warm up. Even though they're a little bit cooler right here, but they're starting to warm up, and that Sahara dust is trying to calm down a little bit. So here we go. Don't want to scare anybody, but I pulled this last night too. Now, granted, this is 2 weeks out, so do not take this as gospel or whatever you do. So, you can't trust any model 2 weeks out. But this is the GFS model 2 weeks from now. That's what it's thinking might happen. You know what's interesting about this though? And I hope this doesn't happen. Here's the European model. They're never agreed. This is weird. So, but they're thinking that this wave, I think here, is going to stay a low rider and come all the way up into the Gulf. We'll see if that happens. If it does, you heard it here first. If it doesn't, I didn't see it. All right, I think that's it. Okay.
There may be some desire for questions, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, questions.
we're tight for time, so.
I tell you what, I'm gonna stay, so
Exactly.
if you got questions after.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay.
Oh, yep.
Ariel's gonna come talk to us about.
Gonna give us a little coaching advice, I think, on the annual report and the work plan. We did have a little prioritization exercise,
Okay.
set up, but I think we'll go ahead, Ariel.
So I think everyone received the email from Scott today. Some folks I think have already done it, so we don't have to, go through it right now, but if you could click that link and just do the prioritization, that helps Scott with, his work plan. And so, you can do that. I'll have it open, just keep track of it and see what the annual report, if you guys, haven't already looked through it, if you could, and just provide any feedback that you have. Any, feedback is great feedback. The only specific change, Tom, if you go to page 13. Thank you. So before, yes. So the version that we sent out, was titled Equity and Inclusion. The city of Raleigh has changed their language recently, for their department. And so we sent it to them just to make sure that we are being consistent with our language. And so this section has changed since we sent it, to you all. So we can send out the latest version so that you can see, we've renamed it to Community and Social Impact. And that department has added some updates and changes to our wording for that section. So we can send that by email and you can, look at that section.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Is there an expectation of, besides the survey, which we should, do in the next 24 to 36 hours, whatever, is there any expectation other than, do you need anything from us other than just general feedback on how the report's shaping up?
Yeah, so just general feedback. We'll go through it again in the next SMAC meeting in September. So anytime probably before, like the week or 2 weeks before that meeting would be great.
I think in the past, we may have emailed you directly.
Yes, you can email, either way, you can email me directly or you can send it either to Wayne and he'll, send it directly to me. Either way is fine.
I would say just reply to Scott's message.
Yep.
And Scott, if you wanted to copy Ariel,
Scott,
either way, Scott, or email it to me, whatever's easiest. We'll all get it to Ariel and she'll. So it might, and I would say we'll be glad to accept any additional comments at the meeting. If they're mostly minor, that wouldn't necessarily stop us from approving it. You could say, here's a few edits that we would like to make. With those edits, let's go ahead and approve it. If there are any other major changes, we could delay and you don't have to approve it, but that would be the preference if possible, because I think we'd like to take it to council at their second meeting in September or their first meeting in October was where we were shooting for. I think it was the 1st of October.
Yep. And every board and commission does an annual report and it gets presented to council, just kind of giving an overview of what we've done over the past fiscal year, how SMAC has been involved. And so, there's a lot of details of our activities over the last fiscal year, a lot of new updates, the new GSI maintenance team, our floodplain management, also some significant improvement with that, and the CRS score that we received, so that's in there as well. Capture contest, you guys were involved in that, so there's a lot of different things in there.
Stop for like 2 minutes just to go over.
I just wanted to say that last year we gave you a ton of new comments and ideas. You did a tremendous job, but incorporating all that into a really nice document that people that aren't part of this group can look at and say, oh, wow. What's Stormwater do?
Right,
So-
thank you, I appreciate it, yes. And at the end, there is kind of like a, overview page, which I think was something that we talked about last year.
Right.
So that's also, in here at the end.
The numbers.
Yes, with all the numbers, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that comes down,
And all our projects.
Yeah, that's just a great one.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about like tying a lot of this together? So I'm hearing, yes, and we just discussed how it seems like there's more rainfall. I was driving down Glenwood Avenue last Thursday and several places on a main road are dangerous looking, you know, they're flooding that in a stretch like that, very, heavily traveled route. So I'm just wondering in here, how can we help highlight the need for that information to also feed projects that would help mitigate some of that? Because today too, we heard a lot about helping, you know, homeowners who maybe they're in trouble because of drainage or issues or stream, need stream assistance. So I'm just saying, like, is there a piece of this that we can also sort of highlight, saying in these things that we're measuring and so forth, that is that going feeding back somewhere to say there's trouble spots there that are very dangerous in these storm situations that I was driving through, just like, and I was just surprised at the number of places where, I mean, it looked really dicey and people were trying to go through there, and it wasn't like a side road or anything. These are main thoroughfares.
Absolutely. And certainly understand members have to bail out. Yes, it is 5:05, so if you have to leave, certainly understand that. We'll keep going with Scott and answer this question.
Yeah, but just incorporating that kind of thing to show pulling it all together is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would like to address the Glenwood Avenue major comments. So this is a source of confusion and frustration for residents as well as staff. Our major roads, Glenwood Avenue, Six Forks, Wake Forest, those are all NCDOT maintained roads. And so it's confusing. But any drainage complaints about those roads need to go to DOT. The city is not allowed to maintain those.
Okay.
And actually, they are much less, I will be frank, they are much less maintained than the roads owned by the city, which is frustrating because they are much more heavily traveled and can provide safety issues when they are not maintained and cause hydroplaning. So it's been something we've been talking about with DOT to see if we can provide assistance in any way. That isn't, would have to be a pretty lengthy negotiation that council would have to approve, the state would have to approve if we were to provide any additional assistance. We're legally not allowed to right now. But please do report those. I would encourage anyone to report drainage issues that you see on those large highways to NCDOT. That would be actually helpful.
There's an NCDOT secondary road lookup tool, the map tool, basically, and it has all the roads that on a GIS map that they maintain, that you can kind of.
So this became like something really catastrophic. So then the city and this would have to go to the state and get some.
Correct. But it's a good comment and a fair comment. And it is a source of confusion of who maintains what with.
Well, and I thought also, I was thinking just how the things that are in the control of the city affect it too. Maybe, that can't be dealt with directly by the city, but there's gotta be stuff that's indirectly affecting it, that's city domain. Anyway. It's just,
My daughter hydroplaned at that Atlantic Avenue spot, and, you know, not fun experience, but then it's like, well, it's a DOT thing, and it's a so-and-so thing, it's because of the side thing, and, you know, like, but there's a camera there to know there's a problem there, so we know the problem. How do we collectively solve it, right? Well,
Right.
It's just what's every time.
interesting.
Maybe we can solve it. Maybe interest.
Yeah, no, I think we should continue to have those types of discussions with DOT.
Yeah, I like that. Scott?
Good afternoon.
Thank you. You have 30 seconds.
I can move fast when I need to, I'll try.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job, Ariel, and really great job to the commission. This highlights all the commission's great work. I mean, look at that document there and the involvement. Look at your agendas even today, and we're, we could probably go to a 7 or 8 tonight. So thank you for all your hard work. We sent the link, take a look at that. That's got your draft high priority work items for your new work plan. So that is based upon your discussions input from last time in June. We've taken that. We've also taken staff comments and ideas of what our priorities for the fiscal year 26 and kind of melded those together. Merged a few of those. So kind of rate those. They're all important. Our intent or your intent would be to really cover all of those if we can. We think there's time on the agenda for 26 to do that. But in terms of priorities, if we have to prioritize which ones they're all important, which are the most important, which would be the next most important, things like that. So we'll do that survey at your convenience here with Ariel's help and guidance. We'll kind of assimilate that, bring that back to you next time. In terms of the work plan, any general comments or thoughts about the work plan? We did, with the guidance from the last time, update the mission statement, the vision statement, to really clarify. I thought that was a great discussion, clarifying the commission's role in the support of the stormwater program and the staff team as an advisory. So hopefully those are more tailored now to the commission. The guiding themes have been updated as well based upon the council's new strategic plan, as well as feedback from that meeting in June and staff ideas. What else is in there? I've been on summer break myself, so I forgot what else is in there. We've been working on that.
We appreciate the time that you guys put forth, pulling all of our ideas together. It's very much appreciated. It's not the easiest thing to do, so.
Well, it's a pleasure to do that, and thanks for allowing us the chance to facilitate and support your work here as you support us. So it really helps us. Wayne, other thoughts about the work plan? So
No,
I think we're in good shape.
thank you, Scott, for pulling it together. If you haven't clicked on that link yet, it should be fairly self-explanatory. Just kind of pull the priorities up and put them in an order, and that will help us kind of finalize the work plan and use the top priorities to revise. And then, so ultimately, the plan is to take the annual report and the annual work plan presented to council at the first meeting in October. Ideally, is the plan schedule. If we have to delay it, we can, if there are questions or, more discussion is needed. But please do go in, provide any comments, and we will revisit this again at the September meeting.
We meet on October 2nd. First council meeting is October 7th. So if we needed.
If we
need
have a little bit of time,
that
that's a good point. No, that's a good point. If we take it on the 7th, we would even have that October meeting. We could go ahead and put the item on the council agenda and then send the updated document before it's published. Yeah, that would work, actually. I mean,
But in September, we will focus on.
That's right. We'll come back and have a little bit more brainstorming session. We'll respond to that. If there's comments along the way, we would certainly, as Wayne encourage comments on the annual report, just send those along anytime. We'll receive those and assimilate that and bring that back. And then also with the focus time next time, be able to finalize that work, your work plan and your annual report. So thanks for the chance to help with those. Again, great job, Ariel. Kelly, great job to you again. Kelly, you cover so many bases for us. Kelly is the Flood Early Warning Program right now. We are looking to grow that program because it's so important, and we couldn't do that without your support. So I really appreciate that. Thanks for the chance to be here, and
Thank you.
Welcome back from Sunny Green.
Yeah. Nice to have a break. Nice to be back. Thank you. Thanks to everybody for sticking around the extra 10 or 15 minutes. Motion to adjourn. God, Come on. These numbers. No, all in favor, second, with Josh's?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor, adjourn. There we go. Thank you.